live from the Hellmouth, the Popular Cinema Podcast. I'm
I,
your co-host, Payne.
I'm Bill, and I see Payne still has a heavy hand on that volume button to turn down the music, like too sweet.
I couldn't get to it fast enough, and I'm switching back and forth. I feel like there's an echo. It's just too much, Bill.
I know. It's too much when you just don't have your shit on lock over there
You
at
know,
the
I,
Chateau
I,
Payne.
I still haven't got the Hellmouth West down.
Hellmouth adjacent.
Uh, this
It's next to the
operation wants
Hellmouth.
to
It's
get in.
Hellmouth. It's close to the Hellmouth, but not in the Hellmouth.
Hey, are you watching the World Cup today?
Really. I'm watching this World Cup get filled with vodka and go down my throat. That's about as all cups I'm watching.
How come you weren't into sports back when we were growing up?
Because I'm a homosexual and it's against our rules and regulations. Okay, it was before we had all these new homo bros that we got running around now that think, because they like to play football and get pumped up in the gym, that somehow they're more men than us old queens who just want to sit the fuck down and watch a soap opera. I got news for you people. Muscles don't make a man.
Okay, all right. I'm watching the World Cup. It's very exciting.
Is it?
Did you know that Mexico just beat Germany and Germany was the number one team?
No. Did you know I don't
Okay,
care?
you didn't know that. You know where I went to dinner in honor of Mexico's win, even though I didn't know they were going to win? I went to
What's
that
that new?
El Arapazo y Pusreri.
Yeah, if I can't pronounce the name of the restaurant, how am I going to go there and eat? I don't do that.
Okay, well, it wasn't
So,
too bad.
wasn't it?
No,
Did you have to
not
pay in
at all.
pesos?
No, I did not have to pay in pesos, but the service was a little bit off, but the food was good.
Was there a lot of ICS looking people in there, like staring hard at the waiters?
No, well, it was a Colombian El Salvadorian restaurant.
Nice. Nice.
Anyway, how was your weekend so
It was
far?
fine. Boring. Didn't do shit. I'm actually really kind of tired because, this medication that I told you I've been switching to that's helping with my medical issues. It's doing one thing that's supposed to, which is helping the problem it was prescribed to do. But there's a side effect in which A, it's difficult for me to sleep, and B, now I because of that am tired as fuck.
Is
So
that why you texted or you sent me an email at like 5:42? Was it a text or email you sent?
that's one or the other. Yes, because I wake up at like 4 in the morning and I can't get back to sleep.
Nice.
So
You should be able to be like very productive.
no, because when you don't get any sleep, then by like 10 o'clock you're like, ugh, in the morning. By the way, 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So then my husband wants to saunter in all sweaty and hot looking from the gym and be like, "So, you're gonna move from that chair today?" And I'm like, ugh, "I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Can you hand me the remote?" So then he looks at me a little cross-eyed and then walks out, shuts the door.
Do you remember those little like chair lifts that you have for like old people? Like you put it on your couch and then you hit
Yeah,
a
yeah,
button and it helps you lift up in the air.
yeah, yeah. No, like the Craftmatic adjustable beds. I want one of those bad, so that you could just like put up the feet, put up the head.
Mm.
It's an old
Well,
people
Bill,
thing.
I've been looking at what's going on in the world. It's Father's Day.
What the hell does
I,
that mean to us? Jack shit. You aren't a father. You have no children or a father. So what?
I,
It's like another day. All the holidays that you usually hate. I'm completely on board with you on this one.
well, how do you know I don't have any children?
Well, unless you're keeping them locked away in the cave that you used to keep your women, then I'm completely unaware.
uh,
And I
okay.
also, God knows what he's doing. So he made me gay and you infertile. Smart
Okay.
man.
All right. That's wonderful. Thank you for putting out my HIPAA information. That's great. All
We
right.
don't know that you're infertile.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Has there been a lot going on in the world of entertainment?
Yeah, there's actually been quite a bit of news. like a lot
Ooh,
of things hitting. So
okay. Well, what do we want to start with? Do we want to start with the best trilogies?
wait, didn't I text you something last night? See, I might have been half in my fucking sleep haze because I don't remember what it was. What was it?
Oh, I remember what it was, but
It
I'd
was a
rather
discussion
discuss.
topic.
I rather discuss the best trilogies first before you irritate me and ruin my whole mood for the rest of the show.
What was the topic? I don't remember. I was in my sleep haze.
You're the only person I know who probably drunks text, but you're drunks texting stuff like, "Hey, listen, did you see the Aquaman trailer? I mean, don't call me names, but I really like it." That's your drunk text that you don't remember sending. That's
I don't know if it was
nothing
a
says
drunk.
nerd. Nothing says nerd than doing something like that. Listen, I know a lot of people don't like Shazam, but I mean, I really like the actor and I really like the direction. I mean, don't hate me, okay? Don't write nasty things. Just saying, I'm just giving my true feelings.
Wow, you just fucking read me filth for being a fucking drunk nerd. That's not right. That's just not right.
Your drunk text was you wanted to have a discussion on,
About
I think, the state of movies or something like that, or
now you're gonna make me look at my phone because see now you're just gonna fucking be fucking it up because now you don't even care. So hold on. I'll have to find it.
it was the state of the movies out that are out now and how they're speaking to your soul. Uh,
Discussion topic: franchise films and the reasons I love them. Also, your feelings about them if you have any. That was quite a coherent drunk text, by the way. And oh yeah, once we get to the Talking Dead situation, I had the perfect response, and I either you got ticked off or you were just not having it. But sure, Jan was the correct response to what you said.
when you send stuff out like that, I just want to just smash. I would want to smash my phone, and if you were in front of me, I just choke you to death. Maybe domestic
Why
violence
do you
when you
not?
send
You
stuff
can't
out like
handle the
that.
truth. Is that?
I I mean, because I can just picture you exactly where you're at. You're probably in your bed, you're watching some show, and you're watching either like The Incredibles recently or Thor or some other crap, and then you're just going like this. You know what? I really just love these films. I mean, I just have a ball. And then that's when you send that text out, and now you want to discuss this love letter to these films that you're watching.
I'm trying to think what I was watching last night that spawned me to send that to you, though, because it wasn't a Marvel movie. Maybe
Certainly,
it was.
anything wasn't like Saw or maybe Hellraiser 7 or
No,
Zombie
it might have been.
Apocalypse.
No, it wasn't The Incredibles because I finished that the other day.
Was
Anyway,
it Boss
apparently it was a
Baby?
franchise film. Who?
Was it Boss Baby?
No, I'm gonna actually say it might have been Fifty Shades Freed.
Ugh.
Um, or
Wow. Wow, that's going to be the thing that spurs you to talk about franchise films and your love for them is 50 Shades Freed.
well, yes, and I will defend my love for Fifty Shades Freed
I
because
don't think anybody wants you to defend that. I don't think
well, but
that,
see, it appeals to me on a level that it probably doesn't appeal to other movie fans, and that's okay. But we'll get into discussion later. We'll talk about the trilogy films as you wanted to start off with. So I will
it's
let
not
you go
okay,
first.
Bill. I feel like you have some sort of disease. There's some sort of mental thing. Like as you start to get older, it just your brain
Basic
starts to rot.
basic bitch movie-itis. Is that what I have? Uh huh. I'm just the simplest of pleasures. Hey, I'll take it.
All right. So, best trilogies. We've been kicking this around for I don't know, probably about 3 weeks or a month. And I forgot what spurred me to even get on this topic, but it just hit up there that there's a lot of great trilogies out there,
Right.
and um, I wanted to sit there and sort of kind of go over in our mind what are some of the trilogies out there, and then which ones do we think are the best.
Okay.
Now, I've looked this up. Are you sure? I feel like there's some sort of echo here.
I don't
I'm going to move this
feel an echo.
so it comes out really clear on your end.
Yes.
I sound
Yeah.
good.
Well, I mean, as good as you're gonna get
I
for for Marble Mouth. Yeah. I mean, I can't. I'm good, but I can't make like, you know, water out of or wine out
Well,
of water. God.
instead of ordering with my 2-day shipping on Amazon speakers, I have chosen to write down a whole bunch of lists of a list of trilogies out there. Would you like me to name some of them, or you just want to just kind of throw some out there?
Well, I thought this was supposed to be our like favorites.
Well, I mean, you probably have to list the trilogies for the people, so any listeners might sit there and be like, "Oh, I forgot that trilogy." You just don't want to give
Okay,
them
so you're just gonna
Toy
throw. Okay,
Story. You don't want to say trilogies and go Toy Story and then like Star Wars, and everybody's like, "Okay, well, that's." You want to maybe have a list out there, and then people are like, "Oh, well, this is what you're picking from." Here,
okay,
I'll list them out. Are you
okay.
ready?
Uh huh.
No particular order. Um, Toy Story, Die Hard, the Mad Max series, Blade, Silence of the Lamb, Lord of the Rings, Evil Dead, Back to the Future, the Good and the Bad and Ugly series that had that fistful of dollars, Captain America, Dark Knight, Star Wars, Planet of the Apes, the new one, Night of the Living Dead, there was 3 of them, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Matrix, Scream, Spider-Man, Mission Impossible, Indiana Jones, The Godfather. How about Aliens? How about Terminator?
But aliens, I don't know. I mean,
Aliens
aliens.
1,
It's a
2,
whole
and 3,
story,
Bill.
right?
Aliens 1, 2, and
But that's not the
3.
whole story. I feel like that's not a trilogy. That's a saga. And it's not even split up the way the Star Wars trilogies are, so that you can get 3 different trilogies out of
No,
it.
I'm going with Aliens 1, 2, and 3. That's the way it's going to go. I'm not going to be doing Die Hard 1, 2, and 3, and just because they decide to add 2 more in there and do another one, it's a trilogy. I'm cutting it off, Bill.
Okay. I don't know then. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if that's going to make your list anyway, so let's just call it like it is.
Well, I mean, okay, go ahead.
So that's a ton of trilogies out there. Now,
Oh,
what
that's a
I've
lot.
noticed, even thinking about some of these things, rarely do I see a trilogy where all 3 movies are like perfect for me. It's very tough.
Shocker.
Like there's always 1 or 2, but getting all 3 to be on board, and then there's the whole point of like being able to watch all 3, be interested in watching all 3. Now then, I'm only interested in watching 1 or 2 of them, even though I might like all 3, but like maybe not all 3. Like the third one might not be replayable as much. Anyway, these are some of the things that I have to deal with, and coming up with what's the ultimate trilogy for me. Um, Go ahead. Some thoughts?
I have several on my list. So I'm just going to go from top to bottom, and this is probably in order of preference mostly. Although towards the middle and towards the end, you could probably interchange them in some directions for
So when
myself.
you said you had some thoughts on the subject, you're really just about to list out your top trilogies then. Is that what you're about to do?
Well, yeah, that's my thought.
Okay. Well, I said some thoughts. Maybe you were going to give me some sort of background on how you
Sure,
determine which trilogies you will be picking, or
sure. My
what's
trilogies
important.
are the best there is. They are the best trilogies ever made. They are the most pleasing movie experiences I've ever had in my life. And I continue to be amazed at the artistry and the level of creativity employed in each and every single one of them.
Now,
How's that?
I haven't really determined which are the best trilogies for me.
Oh, well, I thought
I'm
that was the assignment, but okay.
I was going to have a discussion with you, but I'm still struggling with because I think I have a couple top 2 or 3, but there's still a struggle. But I'm
Well,
willing to hash
if
it out
you
with
if
you.
you want to get off the pot after you're done shitting over your thoughts, because you need to make some choices.
Well,
Okay.
here, let me show you something here. Let me give an example. You- Here, you want to go over your list? Go ahead. Start with your
We
list.
can take turns. I don't care. It doesn't have to be like a whole like all bill 10-minute conversation.
Okay. Let's take for example Blade.
Okay.
Wesley Snipes.
Yes, I understand
Taxi.
that you bashed you like all the other fanboy haters. want to bastardize the third one and not
I don't
include
know
it.
why you have to sit there and shit on my opinion, as if somehow the fact is I don't like the third one, and there's a other group of contingent that don't like it. That somehow how makes it our opinion unworthy. Like somehow we're wrong. Why are we the ones that are wrong?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It's your list. You're right. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. So Blade. Now, when it's on, I kind of occasionally watch it. I like it, but Blade 2 by Del Toro just like is perfect. It's a great film. Blade 2. When it's on, I can watch it all the time. It's great. Then there was Blade 3, which was unwatchable for me. But it's like 2 out of 3. It's tough. Do you have to kick out? Are you throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
I mean, listen, there are rare occasions in which I will take a particular couple of movies in a trilogy and still hold that trilogy. If one of the movies in the trilogy doesn't live up to the standard of the other two, for me, it generally sometimes can kick out the other two from contention because I feel like the story's not complete. It doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes I can still like one or two of the movies in a trilogy and go ahead and discard a third one or a second one or whatever. I can't really think of an example of when that happens though, because my general default is one bad apple can ruin a whole orchard for me. So, anyway.
I want to start to listen to your list. I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to attack you in any way here, but I feel part of it is being around you for several decades here.
3 plus.
You make allowances for things. I don't think you see it, but I think you do make allowances because you're a collector of sorts and you want to make things fit.
But okay,
And
I just want to make sure that we
that's not a
understand that
negative. I'm not saying
there
anything. I'm
isn't
just
a
saying
level of hypocrisy here going on when you
it's an
want.
observation on my
Okay.
part because you could have a movie that's directed, let's say, by like one movie by A director and a second movie by a B director and the third movie by a C director, a high school student coming out. And if you like the concept of the first, then you'll weave in these other two people who may even take it in different directions. You'll just try to see it in a different light and go, you know what, they were going in a different direction. Now I get what they're trying to show. And the reason why the second movie is so serious is because they're trying to create this forebodingness. You'll come up with some sort of like machinations all up in your head of how to resolve what other people might not like. Does
Here's
that
the
make
thing:
any sense?
when you get your psychology degree, the one that's sitting next to your law degree, then you can give me your armchair quarterbacking psychological examination of my particular likes or dislikes. But
Okay.
since you're not really qualified to do such a thing, I'm just going to make an allowance for it. But then also point out to you that people who live in the glass houses should probably stick away from throwing stones.
Give
Like
me
the
your
kind.
first movie.
Oh no
Fine.
no now I'm replying to your
I've called down
statement.
the thunder. I called down the thunder.
You know, because there are some people who, when maybe not with movies or things like that, but I mean, I've known people who say, for example, collect comic books for, I don't know, years, maybe even decades, past their interest in doing so or even liking to read these particular books because they don't want to miss an issue and leave a hole in that particular collection. That's all I'm saying. Everybody's got their shit. Now we can move on.
Oh, okay. That's very true. But the difference is I acknowledge my disease.
No,
You're
you
still
don't. And here's the other thing is if I like the movie, I generally like the movie. I don't have the fortitude, wherewithal, or stamina to walk around pretending something that I like just so I can put it in a collection and waste my money on buying it if I'm really not going to actually get any enjoyment after sitting down and watching it again or rewatching it.
okay.
That's very exhausting.
What's your
You
number
ain't,
one trilogy then? Do you want to start with number seven? Start with your low. How many did you rank?
how many trilogies?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Give me your number 8 trilogy.
I'm not sure this is number 8, but it's in the bottom half, so you could probably switch it with any of the other in the bottom half of this list. But I'm going with the OT Spider-Man Sam Raimi trilogy. And of the 3, the third one is my favorite. Yep, that's right. Everybody that hates Spider-Man 3 can suck my cock. Spider-Man 3 is my favorite of the originals.
This is Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man?
Yes. Kirsten
With the
Dunst.
Green Goblin in number 2 with Doc Ock, and then number 3 where they had the Sandman and they had Venom.
Yes.
Okay. That trilogy doesn't even come close to sniffing my top 10.
That's fine.
And do all 3 movies hold up for you?
Spider-Man 1 is generally considered the weakest in my opinion. Spider-Man 2 is an improvement on Spider-Man 1, but it is not to the level for me personally that everyone else who says, it is the most incredible superhero, one of the most incredible superhero movies ever made. I think it's good. I don't think it's all of that. I think where the whole thing really gels for me is in the third one, where Sandman comes and he has the relationship with his daughter, and he's a villain, but he's not a villain like the kind you're always talking about that wants to generally rule the world. He really just wants to protect and keep his daughter safe, and he wants to be involved in her life, and he is in fact imprisoned wrongly. It's a long story, but anyway, it's a really cool reflection on Peter's journey from being, this innocent, naive sort of kid who ends up fucking up really bad with Mary Jane and
Yeah,
the
we know the
situation.
story of Spider-Man. Okay, we know the story.
Okay, so in a few words, then the third Spider-Man wraps up the trilogy very well for me and gives me a sense of character growth from where they started to where they ended, and all the relationships are resolved in a meaningful and important way for me. And I just like that it really it went somewhere instead of just rehashing every movie after movie. It's the same sort of thing. It actually had a point of existing. I like that.
I'm going to go with Silence of the Lambs trilogy.
That would be Hannibal, Silence of the Lambs, and Red Dragon?
Yeah, the order goes Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, then Red Dragon.
Right, your preference order, but
no, that's the order that movies came out in, Bill.
Right, but okay.
You don't move them around. That's how the movies came out.
It's Silence of the Lambs, then Red Dragon.
Silence of the Lambs was the first movie, then Hannibal came out, and then Red Dragon was the prequel, if you will.
I thought Red Dragon came out after Silence of the Lambs.
It did, but it was dealing with material beforehand.
Okay.
Did you not watch the movies?
It's been a while, but chronologically speaking, just to get it correct in my head,
it would go Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, then Hannibal. But in terms of the way the movies were released, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, Red Dragon.
Okay, what's your preference? Your favorite order?
Hannibal. Well, you mean I don't have a favorite order. I go in the way the order the movies were released. That's what the whole point of the trilogy: 1, 2, and 3. I mean,
which one is your favorite of the 3, though?
Hannibal.
Thank you.
I can watch that over and over and over again. And when Silence of the Lambs is on television, I turn it on and I leave it on. Red Dragon also is good. I wouldn't necessarily have a go-to. Like, I wouldn't go like pull that up on Netflix or something else and watch it. But in terms of Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs, it's a very good total 3 movies. It's just a great series. It's a great trilogy.
I own them all. I also own Hannibal Rising, which I think is a cool.
And what's interesting about Hannibal Rising is that that's the type of movie that when it first came out, the same thing we're dealing with Star Wars right now in terms of whether or not we want to go back and look at these characters when they're young or something else, and then have them do some shit that just seems very like basic, like dime store logic of like, well, he was probably eating fava beans when he was 7, things like that. Like that's just simple comparisons. They just take Hannibal and they just shrink them down to a 5-year-old. That's the things I was complaining about. But Hannibal Rising was a lot better than I anticipated. Not enough to make me want to add it in my collection, but it certainly wasn't as simple as I thought it might be.
Cool. I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
Trilogy placing.
All right. Go ahead. Name another trilogy for me. Your next lowest one.
Well, I guess we're gonna go with the sequel trilogy of
The
Star
what?
Wars. The sequel trilogy for Star Wars.
You're
So that
talking Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones?
Nope, those are the prequels. The sequels would be after Return of the Jedi. So we're looking at Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and I'm going to presume.
I'm calling a foul in the play. We don't even have 3 fucking movies yet.
Oh, we do in my mind.
No, you don't. All you have is The Force Awakens, and what's the next
Last
movie?
Jedi.
The Last Jedi. You don't even have a 3rd movie. It hasn't even come out yet.
But my anticipation for it is so
I
great.
can't with you. You're already ruining it. You're naming trilogies that don't even exist. You're not even playing by the rules. There's no trilogy.
I'll remove it then. That's fine. I will take your points.
See, this is where I'm talking about the craziness in your brain. This is exactly what the audience needs to see, the craziness of your brain, that you're even creating a trilogy. You haven't even got the 3rd movie, and you've already put it at the top of some sort of list of yours. That's the craziness.
So I'll remove it. Problem solved. I'm not going to fight it. So then we're to the prequel trilogy. Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Return, Revenge of the Sith.
Did you hear that?
No.
Did you hear that?
No.
That's the sound of our last fan leaving the show.
That's fine. I can point them to the door.
Go ahead.
Because my shit is my shit, and I don't apologize for my shit. My shit makes me happy. When I go to my room and I'm like, oh, look at the shelf of all these glorious Blu-rays. What shall I play today? Oftentimes, Star Wars, which, by the way, has its own shelf. I'm sure you've noticed in my room. All the Star Wars movies, all the Star Wars fan documentaries, anything related to Star Wars has its own shelf.
I can't wait to discuss George Lucas' latest comments on what he was going to do if he would have held on to the series. I can't wait for that.
Okay, so of those 3 prequels, my favorite is always and always will be, and I have very fond memories to this day of you and I seeing the movie together at the Lenox, Attack of the Clones. Because it awakened after my struggles with trying to accept the Phantom Menace as the new Star Wars. It awakened all the feelings that I wanted Phantom Menace to give me. It brought romance into the Star Wars universe. Not just the Hepburn, Tracy kind of banter that was going on with Leia and Han, but more like the old school soap opera shit, which I really love with Anakin and Padme. So, then of course there's the what do I want to say, cinema verite style that he uses, like the war documentary style that they use in the breakout of the Clone Wars at the end. Some of the best CG ever. The sword fight between Count Dooku and Yoda, the sword fight between Yoda and Anakin and Obi-Wan and Dooku. There's a lot of great shit in that movie. But it reawakened my love for Star Wars. So that's why it's my favorite.
I remember seeing Attack of the Clones. Is that the one where when I showed up at the theater late, might I add, and that there were people dressed in, I don't know, Jedi robes and fighting with lightsabers in the parking lot?
No, that was Sith. That was Revenge of the Sith.
Excuse me?
That was Revenge of the Sith.
So we saw Attack of the Clones Linux. Was there some sort of like sophomore hijinks going on around there?
I remember in the line. I don't think that you came until it was time to like actually go into the theater, because I remember I was already in line because I had been there for like 2 days, and you came like 5 minutes before the movie opened because that's just how you are.
Yeah, I was at
Uh,
Wendy's because I didn't want to hang out with all those nerds and listening to
right,
them talk about shit.
right. And now look at you. You have your own nerd show. Ironic.
Well, the
Um.
difference is I'm not in a group of them where they're all sitting there
Oh.
slobbering over one another, wearing their Wonder Woman T-shirts, going like this. I really love Yoda. Yoda's my favorite.
Okay.
I couldn't take it.
Okay.
You know,
What happens when you tailgate for football games? Do you ever do that?
not rarely, but what
You
you talk
have.
about football?
Yeah, when there's people that have their shirts off, and their man bods are all exposed, and they've got their face painted, and they're drinking beers and acting like obnoxious assholes and screaming and whooping it up while they're waiting like 8 or 10 or 12 hours for a football game to start. What exactly is the difference?
Oh, well, I don't necessarily like that either, Bill.
Okay, but you've done it. But you've actually had that experience, and you didn't necessarily feel
Yeah,
any
but
kind of shame or
I'm not a
remorse.
tailgater. I'm not a tailgater in generally, and most of
Okay,
the
but
people that
it's
I
not
hang.
like you went to Wendy's to get escape from the embarrassment of hanging out at the tailgate,
No,
right?
no, it's not the embarrassment. It's not per se the embarrassment. I mean, but it's more of it's the engaging of people on some subjects I don't really care to hear their opinion, and the way they're talking just somehow is just kind of annoying to me.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just trying to figure out if it's the nerddom that you are like somehow embarrassed about, or if
No,
it's just okay.
no, no. I prefer to have the nerd discussions privately. I don't think I prefer like group discussion events. Now,
Right.
I may include like certain like superfan Melissa or Carlos in those discussions. I respect their opinions, but generally, sometimes the people in line they're just a little bit too intense. Where they want to start talking about the articulation of toys. It's just too
Well,
much for me.
I think our days of waiting in line for Star Wars movies are over anyway,
Oh,
so
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't
It's
foresee
mostly
that
because
that's
we're
going to be an
old,
issue
and
again.
two is because they're always shooting people.
Well,
Anyway,
actually, for me, it's more about this. Star Wars fandom has been ruined. I knew this was happening. We'll discuss this later when we get into that topic, but I'm completely and utterly over them. So,
well, as a result of that, I will point out that probably the prequels are probably one of the worst trilogies for me. Um, and I don't know what I listened to your comments regarding that, your love for it. Well, anyway, it doesn't work for me on a lot of different levels. I'll just leave it
that's
at
fine.
that.
So
So
what's your
now,
next?
for me, I'm going to go with the Evil Dead. Also, Sam Raimi. I should have did it after you did your Spider-Man one. Um,
Right.
Evil Dead one, straight horror movie, very spooky. I mean, it is just a perfect horror movie, and it doesn't even end with some sort of like upbeat. It doesn't have an upbeat ending. It's like perfect for me. It's intense. It's scary. It's got everything in it. It's just well produced, even though it cost like 10 cents to make at the time. Then it followed up with Evil Dead 2, which added a little bit more comedy to it. Who's the lead character? Ash. Who plays the guy that's a cult hero?
Bruce Campbell.
You come in. My speakers are kind of soft. Say it again.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Um, they add a little bit more comedy to it, but they still kept some horror in it. And then, of course, the last one, Army of Darkness, which is also a super fan favorite of super fan Carlos, went sort of straight comedy horror, and all three work. One, two, and three, even though they have different tones, they all work on their own as very good movies. And I did also like the Evil Dead remake. It's just really a copy of the first one, but it's just a lot more gorier, a lot more tense, but still very good. Um,
Why didn't you watch Ash versus the Evil Dead? Because now it's been canceled because people like you who love the
no, I
story.
watched a little bit of it. I watched it, and it has some of the same love as you would have for like Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead 3 in terms of that tone. They actually have some really good horror, but then they also add a little bit more tongue in cheek and comedy on the side. Um,
So those were all elements that were present in the originals, as you just said. But what is the difference in why you didn't appreciate the comedy in the show versus
I don't
the
know if I
movie?
really want a series of it because you're dealing with characters like we're going to be seeing with Ant-Man and Wasp. They're like one note characters who all they do is sit there and just like this whole. They're like Shaggy and shit, you know, Shaggy and Scooby Doo, always just doing some sort of buffoonery, and that's really no interest for me, Bill. I don't really care for characters that are nothing but just some sort of like Austin Powers retread. Like that's not fun for me. It's weak.
Um,
It's weak writing. It's weak directing. I need better at my age. But that being said, that series is top notch. But I don't really replay that a lot. Like that doesn't get a lot of like DVD play.
I know. You know what's funny is I actually bought them for you as a gift, and I got you that really cool box that has the book of whatever
Necromonicon.
the Necromonicon. It was like a rubbery kind of like it was a very cool collector's item. What happened to that? Do you think?
Some lady bought it from me from buybacks, and when I brought it in, she goes like
Oh,
this, "Oh my God, you have the book of Necromonicon." She goes, "You
yeah,
know what? I'll buy it from you without even you just submitting it here. How much you want for it? Will you take
yeah,
$30 for it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take $30 for it. Thanks." She's like,
yeah,
"I've been looking for this. This is just like I can't find this anywhere." I was
yeah,
like, "Well, it's your lucky day."
yeah. Huh. Okay,
So
so
I need extra money to finance my lifestyle currently.
really,
Certainly, it's not going to speakers. That's for damn sure.
so I will tell you the same thing I told my husband, and you're probably not going to give a fuck. So just like he didn't, but I have feelings about it, so I'm going to speak them out loud. You've received your last DVD physical disc gift from me.
That's fine.
Okay. Um. So
Evil Dead comments.
yeah, I think you're wacky, cracky, not so futso about, um, in particular, Army of Darkness. I, I was indoctrinated by the to the Evil Dead trilogy by yourself, as a matter of fact, because those movies were never in my wheelhouse. And when we started hanging out in high school, when we started walking to the fucking video store, these are the kind of movies that you would insist on fucking renting. And then we would go back to your mom's house and watch them. Like what do you call it? I guess it was like the early days of binge watching, but we didn't call it that. So like I'd spend several of my Friday and Saturday evenings watching shit like Evil Dead, Return of the Living Dead, until finally you indoctrinated me into the Church of Poison Mind, and I ended up liking some of them. Like Evil Dead, I do enjoy Evil Dead 2 as well, Return of the Living Dead, the whole first three I think I like. But I have to draw the line at Army of Darkness because Army of Darkness was just it reminded me like of a Blake Edwards movie, like Blazing Saddles or Spaceballs. It's just pure straight farce. The whole thing is just a big joke. And like, sometimes in these things, something that works in like a 10-minute Saturday Night Live skit falls apart when you stretch it out to 90 minutes. And that's kind of how I felt about Army of Darkness. It was a one note, jokey joke. Whereas in Evil Dead, there was horror that blended with the comedy more. So if you didn't like a particular joke or whatever, just hold on because there'll be a scare right around the corner. And the violence and it's like an action comedy horror movie. It was kind of cool that they blended a bunch of different genres into one thing. Where with Army of Darkness, I feel like they just sort of threw out any attempt to maybe make it scary or serious and just went straight comedy, and it turned me off.
Okay. All right. I'll be curious if any one of our trilogies intersect with one another. I think one or two will.
Oh, I think the
Uh,
next one probably will. I'm
yeah.
sure
All
it
right.
will.
So give me another one.
Well, of course, Lord of the Rings, which is
Oh,
probably the
oh, that's a
greatest.
big daddy on that one.
It's the greatest example I think of modern day epic cinema filmmaking, and probably maybe the last time we'll ever see it on a level of that scale, where we use like real physical things. And I'm not one of these people that's like anti CG, but there's something about the world of Lord of the Rings, and when you watch the behind the scenes appendices, which by the way, again, this is probably the greatest DVD/Blu-ray package ever committed to disc, as far as I'm concerned, because the actual making of takes you through so much of the behind the scenes thing that it's like really taking like a course in filmmaking. I mean, I really think they could like qualify for some kind of like online actual class with this bonus material because there's so much of it. It's like 18 hours on the bonus discs. But I mean, it's just a class act from beginning to end. Epic filmmaking, fantasy filmmaking. It put fantasy films on a respectable level that they'd never had before. I mean, it was nominated for God only knows how many Oscars, and Return of the King won. Even though I do think some of that was unfair, I think it was rewarding the entire trilogy, which is fine with me that they did it that way because at least they got the Oscar award for it. But I don't think that Return of the King was the best, especially the theatrical version that they released was the best of that trilogy. But I mean, we're splitting hairs here because to me, it's very close second only to the Star Wars films as far as like my favorite trilogy of all time.
You really just went from like first base to like home run. You didn't even like soft pedal it, huh? You're not even trying to tease the audience, huh? You just can't contain yourself. You said you have several movies, you listed two, and then all of a sudden you're just going straight for the pregnancy. That's what you went for, huh? You're just like, here, I'm going to give you my. I mean, really?
I mean,
You
if
just
you're
can't
asking
slow
me,
roll it, huh? You just can't slow roll it. You just got to throw out three different trilogies. I still got four more to go over, and you're just going to throw it out there, huh?
well, I don't understand the problem. I'm confused. What is the actual problem?
We were going to each name our trilogy, but you're just already just naming your top trilogy, though. You're really not even trying to like, make the audience like work for it.
Oh, you wanted me to go from the bottom of the list, and I went and switched to the top.
Why would
Well,
I want you to start with the top? We're working your way from the bottom.
okay, well, I skipped a few.
Yeah, it's sort of anticlimactic, don't you think?
Well, I don't think that
Why,
anybody
what,
really
what
cared that
type
much
of
for the bottom.
award show starts off? Does the Oscars go like this? Here, for our first thing, welcome to the Oscars. Here we go. We're going to start with Best Picture. What the fuck?
Well,
Who does
weren't?
that?
How come you weren't
They
making
start
this
off with
point?
Best Supporting Actor. What are they like? No, no. We're going to start off with Best Actor, Best Movie, and Best Female Actor.
That would probably make for a much more entertaining show.
Yeah.
To be quite
Okay. And
honest,
then everybody turns it off at the first 15 minutes because nobody wants to see who got like Best Animation.
I have
Okay.
news for you. Everybody turns off our show after the first 15 minutes too. So, you
I
know,
mean, honestly, your experience at doing this, I shouldn't have to tell you. We need a producer. Anyway,
I
Lord of the Rings.
told you I was tired. Oh, go ahead.
Lord of the Rings. I can't disagree with any of your comments in terms of making it an online course or having somebody who I would think, I mean, this is my opinion, obviously. I don't direct movies. We probably need Chris Tran on here to sit there and give his 2 cents on there. But I mean, I think the movies are just like this is where you're working at your highest level, like all things come together for you, the casting, the crew, the writing, everything just works on so many different levels for these movies. And heaven forbid, I still to this day, when I first saw Lord of the Rings at the movie theater at the 12 o'clock showing, I walked out hating it. And I think it's because I was just extremely tired, which is like when I watch movies when I'm tired, it just skews everything. But the Lord of the Rings, the first movie, it is completely rewatchable all the time for me. Like if I don't have anything else, I want to put on, or maybe I should watch a new series like Superfan Melissa's been kicking around for me to watch Billions or some other stuff. I might just be like, "Ugh, I just don't feel like starting it right now, and I'll just throw on Lord of the Rings if I don't have anything else on. That's what I'll do, Bill. The Two Towers, there are so many great scenes in that one. I mean, that battle at the end and the ride out in this movie, in and of itself, Peter
That was
Jackson has so many scenes where I actually jump out of my seat and cheer. Like that's how juiced and emotionally involved I get into some of those scenes that he has. Now, Return of the King is probably one of the weakest entries for me. In terms of rewatching it all the time, I'm not really sure why because there's so much good stuff in there, but it's just maybe too long or it just wanes on me a little bit.
they're all too
And
long, but they're all.
no, no, the other two for me, the length doesn't bother me. The third one, I've probably watched the first two like 3 or 4 times as much as Return of the King.
The
Um,
only complaint I have about Return of the King, and it really bothered me when it came out, was that they left a crucial character resolution out of the theatrical version and only put it on the Blu-ray version, which was at the time something that really pissed me off, because it didn't make any sense in the way they presented the movie in the theaters as to what possibly could have happened to that character, who was a major character throughout the whole trilogy and then just disappears. I still can't forgive him for that, because I'm thinking of all the scenes to cut. Why would you cut that scene? But it was restored properly in the way it was supposed to be in Return of the King in the Blu-ray version. So I am somewhat grateful that it eventually corrected, but then have the movie go on and win the Oscar sort of pissed me off. But again, it was for the trilogy in my mind, not just for Return of the King. So
Okay. What's next?
okay, well, I'm just going to continue going down my list since I'm on the top anyway, and I'll just go towards the middle.
Ugh, amateur hour. Fuck.
Right below the Lord of the Rings for myself is the Hobbit trilogy, which again is filmmaking on an epic level that I do not believe that we will ever be able to get a chance to see again. Now, we'll see what Amazon does with the show. My burning desire and hope is that Peter Jackson is involved in some way, because he has created a world with Middle Earth that I don't think can be improved upon, as far as aesthetically, as far as cinematography, as far as making you believe that Middle Earth is a real place. And the level of world building that they've already done for those trilogies, I think would be really beneficial for. I mean, they have freaking Hobbiton built as a permanent place to go in New Zealand. It's like they could just use it and be, you know, halfway there to getting their show made. But anyway, I adore The Hobbit, and I adore The Hobbit Desolation of Smaug probably even more than the first one. The third one, I would say, is probably my least favorite, The Battle of the Five Armies. Again, a lot of this has to do with the way they released that film in theaters. They chopped the editing to bits and pieces, and removed a lot of character development parts out of it to keep the length down, because I guess they didn't want to have a repeat. And in fact, Hollywood, it was different in 2011 and 2012 and 2013 when the Hobbits were released than it was back in 2001, 2002, and 2003, where I think the market at that time, even though it was difficult, I think it would tolerate the length of the theatrical versions of the movies being pretty long. I don't think that people would tolerate them that way now. So I understand somewhat more of the Hobbit editing problems than was given to the Lord of the Rings, as far as the length they allowed them to be in movies. But again, I am grateful that they corrected most of those issues on the Blu-ray. But I think Martin Freeman was the absolute perfect choice to play Bilbo, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the dwarves. What is the lead? Is it Airborne?
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the actor's name.
Richard Armitage?
Yes, he was fantastic. In fact, I think all the dwarves were great. So yeah, and it's pretty close to Lord of the Rings in my heart as far as favorite trilogies.
The Hobbit series is not even close for me to being Lord of the Rings. There are elements of it in each one of those movies. If I just sit there and took like a little slice out of, there's several scenes that can be very Lord of the Ring-esque in terms of perfect. But unfortunately, surrounding that is shit sandwich on everything else, which is sort of the whole adage, maybe you can't go home again. And I kind of wish that maybe somebody else would have taken over the reins, like Del Toro, because Lord of the Rings is such a masterpiece. And this is what my fear with always with these directors. I know you disagree with me, and we have these discussions all the time. You have somebody that directs something when they're 20 years old, and then later on at 60, they come back directing. They're different people, they're a different person, they have different skills, it's a different time. And it comes out different than it was at that time 40 years ago. Now, I'm not saying there's been a huge length of time here, but I feel as though this doesn't, it doesn't have the same feel for me at all. Now, Martin Lawrence. Oh no, who is it? Who's the character that plays Bilbo?
It is Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence.
No,
He's
are we thinking of
no,
Nene?
Martin Freeman.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
Martin Lawrence is like
Yeah, black.
Martin. I miss
So
Shanae,
anyway,
by the way, but go ahead.
Martin Freeman is great in the role as Bilbo. Okay. Um,
And Richard Armitage, how did you feel about him?
he's great too. The parts and pieces are there for the movie in terms of like it's not an issue with the actors or the casting or some other things. It's everything else around it. To me, it seems to suffer from the whole idea of what maybe you'll talk about if we get to that other discussion in terms of franchise. It suffers from blockbusteritis, where they're trying to do too many things for me, where it's just too generalized and it's the same thing as like the pod race from Phantom Menace. You've got a little bit of you know jokes that are more topical, like hey what they start doing things that are current, and they're playing to a group that's generalized. I'm kind of wondering with this, certain things just seem very fast and furious, and some of the characters were just so ridiculous. It was hard for me to even get into this because who's the one character that was the servant to the king? He was sort of like swarmy in his
Um,
presence.
you're talking about, um, good Lord, have mercy, Jesus.
I know the character I'm talking about. I'm sorry for the fans that don't. He was a swarmy character. He was the king. He was part of the little town that Smog decimated. Every time he was on the screen, he kept chewing up the scenery with like twirling his mustache. And the difference between that with Lord of the Rings, that more of the characters that were ridiculous, but they seem to have more personality and they seem to be actually more than one note. And some of these characters were just like one note characters. We want you to be swarmy. Okay, so everything you do, you just sit there and twirl your mustache, or you have this other character. Like they were just very just simple characters, and I, it's one of the few trilogies where I sit back and I go, I don't even remember what Battle of the Five Armies. And not to mention, which you sort of alluded to here a little bit here, is that it should have been two movies, and yet they stretched it out to three. Um, that's an issue for me. Um, so anyway, that's my comments on that.
Okay,
Um,
I'm going to let you have the last word on this, but I'm just
I
going to
don't know
say,
why you just can't let me have the whistles for. You just sat there and wrote a love letter. You disagree with everything I just said.
I, how does Mark Hamill say this? I fundamentally disagree with everything you've just said.
Right.
I,
I don't
I,
know why you just can't let my stuff remain. If you
okay,
want me to go first, I
okay.
mean, you just can't stand to let my negativity just sit out there, huh?
Well,
You just
it
can't
feels
allow it.
like you're spewing poison into the universe, and I try to
I
smother
want you
it
to
with
know
love.
that every time you say something, that's the way I feel about it. But I let you end on it. I don't respond to after I sit there and say, you know what, I love the Saw trilogy 1, 2, and 3. I think it's the greatest thing ever when they're chopping up the bodies. And then you come on and go, I do not like the movie. I think they're a mark on society. You know, I don't sit there and come back and be like, Bill, I disagree with you. I think it's great. I just let it sit out there, Bill. I think you just need to be
So,
confident with your comments on your movies that somehow that my poison won't affect it. It won't affect it, Bill. You-
so what I said was one sentence. It wasn't ranting, it wasn't raving, it wasn't drooling or raising my voice. It was one
yeah,
sentence.
I don't even want you to say the
I'm
one
ready.
sentence.
Oh,
I don't want you to
okay,
say the one sentence, Bill.
okay. I
Okay,
take
for
it back.
me, the next one is going to be Die Hard 1, 2, and 3.
I fundamentally disagree with every word you just said. No, that's fine. I'm
Okay.
kidding.
This is back when Bruce Willis is on his game. He's just phoning in his shit now, even though I did like the Death Wish movie. But I mean, Die Hard 1, oh, one of the best Christmas movies out there. Die Hard 2 with him on the plane, same concept, criminals coming in, highly trained. They're all just sitting there trying to do something that just seems ridiculous in this day and age, and the common man fighting them. It works for me.
What's Die Hard 3? Is that a boat?
What's that?
Is Die Hard 3
Die
on a boat?
Hard 3 is they're trying to rob a bank. That's the one with Samuel Jackson in it, playing a character called Zeus.
Okay. What's the one where they're on a boat? Is there no
I
one
don't
where
believe.
they're on a boat?
No, I don't believe there was a boat, Bill.
Okay. I thought
That's
it
a
was.
no.
What's
No.
Live Free and Die Hard? Where's that one?
What's that?
Live Free and Die Hard. Is that after the trilogy?
I can't hear you.
Live Free and Die Hard. Is that after the original trilogy?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
And that one is where they're trying to steal some money out of the bank. Also, was it the currency? I can't remember the currency. The guy who played in Justified, Timothy Oliphant.
I like him.
Oh yeah, he's one of my favorite actors too. We both agree on that one. But anyway, the Die Hard series, the trilogy, it's just enjoyable for me to watch if it's ever on, especially the first one. Now, Die Hard 3 with Samuel Jackson, it's not per se my favorite because they deal with a lot of racial stuff, and it kind of annoys me and
What
irritated
kind of
me.
racial stuff?
Well, Samuel Jackson is like in Harlem, and Bruce Willis is there, and so they have to team up. But every time they have some sort of disagreement, it's all based on race. You know, like everything's a racial joke, and the reason why you don't do that is because I'm black. Or you don't do this. It's all very. It's simple racial jokes, and I think it takes away from the movie. Like it's not something I really want in my Die Hard movie. I just want them to team up and then take down the bad guys. And instead of Bruce Willis doing it alone this time, he now has help from Samuel Jackson. But they do this old school comedy routine where Bruce Willis is like, I'm not making a racial joke, I'm just being serious, and Samuel Jackson's character is supposed to be like hypersensitive on everything that's said to him. It's just not fun for me on that aspect at all. And um anyway, but overall it hasn't fully tainted the whole series for me that I just don't love it, because Die
How
Hard.
many are there total in the Die Hard
Let me
series?
finish with the last. Let me finish with this last comment. Even discussing these trilogies, what I realize is that even though there might be a weak entry on one, the love of one or two can overwhelm the stink of something that might be like middle of the road for me, and that's what we have in this Die Hard 1 and 2. Anyway, go ahead. Your thoughts?
How many of them are there in the entire story? I lost track because I stopped giving a fuck after Die Hard 2, I think.
I think there's 5, Bill.
Okay, so what's the last one called? Which one is it? Live Hard and Die Free and I don't know. Fuck a lot of bitches. What's the last one called?
We have Die Hard film series. Here we go. Number 1.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Thank you. Samuel Jackson. Live Free or Die Hard.
Uh-huh.
Timothy Oliphant. And then A Good Day to Die Hard.
To Die Hard, right.
And that was Jay Courtney was starring in that one. I watched all of them. Same concept. I like the character Bruce.
So there's only 4.
No, it's 5.
What's the 5th one?
Die Hard with a Vengeance is the 3rd one. The 4th one is Live Free or Die Hard, and the 5th one is A Good Day to Die Hard.
Okay. That's a lot of movies.
By the way,
I
A
haven't
Good
seen.
Day to Die Hard made the least amount of money. So,
which is probably why there's no more Die Hard or Hard On.
Now, what's interesting, after the first Die Hard movie, it made, according just looking at it just from the North American gross, it made 83 million. And Die Hard 2, of course, since the first one was a hit, made 117. But by the time we got to the third movie with Samuel Jackson, that only made 100 million. So it was already on the downslide. But then with Live Free or Die Hard, it made 134. Call it what you will, but anyway, are you a fan of the Die Hard movies or no?
Honestly, I haven't watched them probably in decades, so I'm not going to lie and say I am. I enjoyed them when I saw them, the first two at least, but I never felt any need to particularly rewatch them or own them. So, um, they're kind of just basic action fare, although, with a witty twist for sure. It wasn't just, all action and no character. I mean, it was good. I mean, I put it in the same category probably with like Speed and stuff like that. Like they're kind of one-offs for me. Like I wouldn't say they're terrible movies, but I just don't have a desire to rewatch them.
Okay.
So,
What do you got next?
Matrix trilogy, bitches. That's right. And out of the original three, my favorite is The Matrix Revisited. That's the third one. That's the one everybody hates. That's how I roll.
Carlos is rolling over right now in his house. He is.
I'm sure he is.
Smashing the radio.
I'm sure he is. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, you were breaking up for a second. Okay, so what I love about the Matrix trilogy, and you and I debated about this when we went and saw the second and the third movies that you immediately disregarded and were full of hatred for, which is fine. However, I love that they give you something in Matrix 1 and then they completely turn it on its head in the rest of the story and don't give you what you expect. They subvert expectations by making it more about the actual inner workings of how the Matrix actually operates and what actually it's taken to get the machines to the point in the universe where they've taken control. At the end of Matrix 1, you kind of think it's going to be a sort of straightforward superhero story. Once Neo discovers his powers, you think, well, Neo's just going to go and fucking bust up the Matrix and, save everybody, and it's going to go, a certain way. And it totally, totally did not go that way. And to me, it asks all sorts of philosophical questions about the meaning of life, the meaning of birth, the meaning of death, reincarnation, all kinds of just things that they don't normally end up putting in action sci-fi movies to this level. So what they did was basically, again, the Wachowskis gave you a spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down in the original one, and then they slowly gave you more and more medicine and took some of the sugar away. So that at the end, you might not necessarily have the same sort of enthusiasm if you were on one track with where they were going with one. But if you sort of take what they were giving you and ride with it, there was gifts and revelations and all sorts of surprises to be had in that trilogy. And to this day, it remains one of my favorite movie trilogies of all time. Because of the second and third, not in spite of.
In spite of the second and third, the Matrix trilogy doesn't even make my list.
Oh, understood.
The Matrix movie, the first one, is just completely mind blowing. There's no way around it. It's just once again, the Wachowskis sisters haven't done anything remotely, good.
I think Sense8 is. I just think Sense8 is a deep dive.
TV show. It's a TV show.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying.
In terms of a movie,
okay.
They haven't done shit. Okay. Critically, box office wise, it's just been.
Did you not see Speed Racer?
What's that?
Did you not see Speed Racer?
Yeah, I saw Speed Racer.
You don't think it was like a seminal hit and wonderful piece of art?
Yeah, you know how I felt about that. They haven't done anything. Jupiter Ascending, there's always been a lot of hype about the shit that they do, and then it all just really falls flat. But anyway, I'm not here to discuss their oeuvre. The Matrix is one of those things where a director, I think they can make 10 terrible movies, but they can make one movie that can stand the test of time. And The Matrix is that one movie. And number two, even though I don't like the direction they went with, or their attempts to try to do some sort of like Lost, let's delve into mysticism and everything else and try to make some sense of it and speak in fortune cookie tones and whatever else, where they were trying to convey completely, um, just just threw away exactly everything they did in the first movie, in my opinion. The
Well,
second one,
you've done it
this
now. I was on the fence.
wait, this the action scene in Matrix 2, The Reloaded, is still probably one of the best action scenes I've ever seen in a movie in terms of the freeway and the motorcycle chase. I don't think there's anything that's really been filmed on that level to where it is just too damn cool. One of the best scenes ever, that freeway scene. Anyway, by the third one, I could care less about these characters, Zion or whatever else they're doing, and that's where they lost me. I mean, if somehow if they would have pulled the Matrix 2 together in terms of all their other writing, in terms of what they were trying to convey, 1 and 2 might be able to overshadow 3 for me, but it was not. So, Matrix can't make the list for me for best trilogies of all time. Sad. It's
Well,
sad.
you've just convinced me. I am, as we speak, adding to cart the Matrix Trilogy 4K Blu-ray, DVD, and digital copy at Amazon. Click, and it's on its way. So, here's the thing.
My comments are designed to get under your skin. I mean, you've already
No,
said some obligatory
they're
shit.
They're not under my skin. But what I'm saying is, I must fight the darkness. The darkness cannot overtake the world in its evil and
You've got
darkness.
2 sentences. A rebuttal. 2 sentences.
I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. My turn. Here you go. How about the girl with the dragon tattoo?
Really? Did I even get a trilogy? Oh no, it got a trilogy in a foreign country, but not here, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay,
And
so
it's
you're
a
talking about the foreign one, not the one that was
I'm
made.
talking the 4-1 with Naomi Rapace.
Okay. Is that the girl who won't be in an alien movie that's not being made? That's her, right?
I don't think it's her fault.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying that, she's going to be not employed in that franchise again.
Now, the girl with the dragon 2 foreign version, followed up by the girl who played with fire and the girl who kicked the hornet's nest. Those movies are tense. Obviously it's subtitles, so I really just can't throw those on. I have to be sitting there watching it and paying attention. But I think I don't know who actually directed those films, but overall in general, it's just a hell of a ride.
Okay,
And
before we continue really quickly, just because this is on my mind and this is related to what we're talking about with Naomi Rapace.
Yeah.
The Alien Awakening trailer that you were telling me that you saw the other day or thought you saw.
Yeah, sure.
It's a fan trailer.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I can't. I can't.
It came to my phone, Bill. If it comes to my phone.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, now who did the American? Was it what's his name? Who did 7?
David Fincher.
What's his name?
David Fincher.
Yes, he was the one that directed the American Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. If I'm correct.
The one that's not getting a sequel.
Which is unfortunate because I enjoyed his version just as much as I enjoyed the foreign version, which doesn't happen too often. And I would have loved to have seen 2 more just like it. So it would have been a perfect 6 movies here, a foreign version as well as an American version.
I'd love to see 2 more versions of Young Han Solo, and that's not going to happen either. So I guess nobody gets everything they want.
I don't know why you're shitting on my thing here.
I'm not.
You probably haven't even seen. Have you seen the girl with the dragon tattoo?
I've seen her dragon tattoo. Okay, I wasn't impressed with her dragon tattoo.
You did see David Fincher's Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
I actually didn't.
Okay.
But I'm not saying it's not a good movie. That's not even my point. It could be a great
movie. You just didn't. It's not really one of those things for you, though.
Yeah, it looks a little dark for me.
Yeah, it is dark. Clearly, it's dark. I mean, but anyway, I think that series is great, and unfortunately, being a foreign series, I just can't turn it on all the time because you got to pay attention to what's saying since I'm not bilingual. But anyway, Go ahead. What's
But
your next
don't
one?
they have a dub version? You don't like dubbed?
No, I don't. I don't like to listen to movies when they're dubbed, Bill. Like, because then they employ some actors who are people to do the voices who can't act, and it doesn't match up. It's just weird.
But then
Uh,
you're
if I don't care about the movie, I might throw it on. But this is the day where like you don't prefer to watch movies with standard definition.
ugh,
Like I don't listen to movies if I have to turn on the dubbing. I won't watch a movie if you're going to dub it. I got to turn on the subtitles.
okay. So you don't mind, because I always find trying to watch a movie with subtitles is like reading a movie, and I find it very off-putting because it removes me from like the performances that are happening while I'm trying to read what they're and understand what they're trying to say. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a movie out there that could make me do it, but it just and not mind it. But I haven't found that movie yet. So,
Okay.
um, next trilogy for me is the Dark Knight.
Wow. Okay. Go ahead.
Um, listen, it's a certain what do I want to say? It's a certain take on Batman. It is not my preferential or my premier Batman story that I've ever seen in movies. It is, though, artfully done, tastefully done. Um, it is on a level that brings, quote unquote, respectability to the superhero genre. Um, again, my favorite of the three is everyone else's least favorite, which is the third one, The Dark Knight Rises. I do think The Dark Knight is somewhat overrated. If you're asking me, Heath Ledger was a good Joker. I don't know if he's my favorite Joker. He was good, but I don't know if he was like the defining Joker ever. Batman Begins is a little slow. I mean, it kind of gets to the point on its leisurely pace. Um, but again, by the time they wrap it up, and by the time Batman is able to sort of make that sacrifice that basically every superhero has to make at some point or another, and then you have Jonathan Gordon-Levitt coming in as what we can only assume is going to be either the next Batman or Robin. I think his character's name was even Robin at some point, wasn't it, in that trilogy? Maybe that was his middle name, something like that. Um, but I mean, it was full of action. It was full of pathos. It was full of superhero goodness. It's a little bit more on the Netflix, Marvel end of my enjoyment of it. And if you know me, you know what I mean by that. Than on the Justice League end of my enjoyment of it. So, but I can't
Okay.
take away from the fact that it's extremely well crafted and did a lot for the genre. So,
Yeah, yeah, I know a lot of people enjoy The Dark Knight, and they got a lot of positive press. One of the few movies where everybody's just like, "Oh yeah, this is really good." Christopher Nolan, he really took it to another level. I'm a fan of Batman Begins. I enjoyed The Dark Knight from I did not enjoy Dark Knight Rises. I was Batman with the What?
it
What did he
sounds like
say?
you all the time.
What did what did
That's
he
how you
say?
sound all the time.
What did Bane say? Was he saying something? Was he saying
They
something about blowing
cleaned
up the
that.
bridges?
They went and cleaned that up for the Blu-ray because people were complaining they couldn't understand what he was saying.
So they cleaned it up for the Blu-ray. That's nice. That's wonderful. They didn't clean it up for the movie, but whatever. Anyway, I'm not really a fan of the Dark Knight as a whole series.
Really?
I understand that Nolan has crafted it and took it to another level, if you will, or grounded it in a way.
I kind of think it's like the Godfather of superhero movies. Honestly, that's sort of my comparison to
Well, in
it.
terms of you can say it's a God. Well, I mean that's your Godfather in terms of its style and the way it's a little bit more gritty and it's just grounded. You're not really dealing with a lot of buffoonery.
Right.
Characters are all sort of fully realized in a lot of degree, but I don't care. I find it to be boring. Actually, I mean, Chris Nolan still does some of the. He can't do a fight scene to save his life.
I would agree about the fight scenes, but I don't think it's boring, and I do think that there's some things in there that not fight scene wise, but action scenes that take it away from sort of like a, when there's a lull. I mean, some of that stuff with like especially the machines that he uses, like the Bat Pod and the Bat Copter at the Dark Knight. I mean, some of that is like the best action scenes I think I've ever seen. I mean, when he's like driving the Bat Pod after the Joker and the Joker flips the truck over and all that stuff, that shit, and he like drives the Bat Pod like up the wall and flips it over. I mean,
Yeah, that's like 10 seconds. The movie's
okay,
like
well,
2
I mean,
hours
the same
long.
thing with the
You're
Tumbler.
talking 10 seconds out of 2 hours. Can you name one good fight scene out of those Batman movies?
I mean, the scene when he had the goggles on and the guys were attacking the building, and Lucius was like, using those computers to sort of show him where the people were coming in. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, the one that was all digitalized where we really couldn't see them fighting. He was just, yeah, okay.
Right.
Well,
Listen,
anyway, hey, listen. I'm not here to argue your taste for it. I'm
okay,
saying I'm not a fan of the Dark Knight trilogy in and of itself
really,
on different levels.
I'm
I don't
surprised
say
about that.
I don't say like I hated sort of like the prequels. I just sit here and go, I'm just not a fan overall of it. I think it doesn't really have any type of replay value for me.
Wow.
The only thing I really take away from the Dark Knight trilogy is when he had the Joker push that guy's head through a pencil. Um, I mean, that's pretty intense. And that's what I would expect from my Joker. So that's the quintessential thing for me. The Joker should be just as violent as Chris Nolan tried to, make him out to be. And I think that should be the litmus test for however you make that character. Anyway,
Okay. I'm surprised about that. I thought that the grittiness of that would be more your speed than some of the other non-gritty movies that
I think the grittiness is perfect in terms of the tone, but I find it just to be boring in a lot of different ways. And I don't have that problem with Batman Begins, but as it goes on, it just like when it culminates in Dark Knight Rises, I'm just kind of just bored. There's a lot of standing around and talking, and I know they have the great music going on about what's going to happen, but Bane standing around, get the people, and I got the scene on the steps where they're just kind of fighting. It's just all very just boring. It's so grounded, it's boring. I would like
I
to
will
have
say
seen
it's
Chris
too
Nolan
grounded.
do like a scene like I would like to see Chris Nolan do a Superman. Okay, give me him doing a
Well, he
character with
was a
actual
producer on Man of Steel,
superpowers,
so
and
him and
then
Zack Snyder worked together on that.
what's that?
He was the executive producer of Man of Steel.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's from the producer of so and so and so, from the producer of The Matrix. Yeah, I've seen that before. Okay, Bill, I want him to direct it. I don't want him to sit there and collect some paychecks and sit there and be like, "Oh, that's a great script, Zach. Get out there." All right, I'm talking about him directing it. I would like to have seen him do a character with superpowers. It's too grounded for me.
I honestly think if they were to give Chris Nolan a Superman movie, that is not the direction I want the Superman franchise to go in, because it is way too dark for the Superman character for me. The aesthetic that he uses for Batman.
Well, give him any character that could be darker that actually has superpowers. Then, okay, I would like to see
Okay.
him do something that's fantastical versus something where
But
we're
that's
all
not
sitting
even.
there
But
going
that's
like,
just not his. He's not really a fantastical guy. Like I
right.
think the most
And
fantastical you'll ever get out
what
of
I want
him.
from my superheroes is maybe a little bit more fantastical, and
Well,
it's just
I didn't
boring.
think I'd ever hear those words come out of your mouth, but I'm certainly
Well,
glad to.
and I'm being awfully harsh on the Dark Knight to really just call it like boring. I mean, there's levels of boringness. Obviously, I saw the movie. I didn't walk out and say, "Oh, I can't stand the Dark Knight" or something else like that. But just overall, now in 2018, it's just not something I put on. I rather keep on because there's too many lulls in there, and it's great in terms of the characters and their development. Yeah, there's a lot of positives, but just in terms of action it's weak. Like it's heavy on the character, it's heavy on the plot, weak on the action for me and the elements that I need.
Okay,
So
so my next one is going to be.
no, you just did the Dark Knight series, my friend.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You get a little bit ahead of yourself.
Sorry.
I'm gonna leave I think my best one for last here. I'm gonna go with Planet of the Apes.
I
Now
assume the new ones.
you did.
Okay.
You saw the new one?
No, I said I assume that you're talking about the new ones.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm talking Matt Reeves' version. Planet of the Apes. Was it Dawn of the Apes? Rise of the Apes? Um, now this is Nolan-esque the way he takes these movies, and I just think they're beautiful in terms of the character Caesar and all the other characters around him. It's hard for me to watch because sometimes I just get sad because I know that the apes are being killed. But overall,
Too close to
like,
home.
what's that?
Nothing.
Um,
Really bad, inappropriate racial joke.
I know. Thank you for not saying anything, Roseanne. Okay, so listen. um, save for all the fans out there. Save me the Roseanne jokes. Got it. Does it star Valerie Jarrett? Is she in the movie too?
What's funny about it, I'm just going to leave one comment out there about the Roseanne thing. I'm sorry, but if you compare the Helen Bonham Carter ape picture to Valerie Jarrett, there's a stunning resemblance. Let's move on.
I can't with you. I can't have you feed into the darkness, Bill. I don't even know why you feed the darkness. Not on the. I can't. Not on this show. Okay.
Okay. And all hate mail to PCP.
All hell may anyway. So I mean, now just because I'm getting towards the end of my list doesn't mean that Planet of the Apes is towards the top of it. Because some of these movies, I think it's filmed very well. I just don't know if I can watch them all. Like they're almost too intense for me to watch. And but in
Really?
terms
I
of
mean, is it a snuff film or is it a CG festival with
no,
some
but just
computer generated
it's
apes?
just you know what it is because Matt Reeves plays this thing where like the heroes always get knocked around. Like, in terms of winning, they take heavy losses. And it's just kind of like you want I want the apes in this film version to actually like succeed in getting the freedom that they want. But with him, it comes with like great loss. So part of it is just sad when you're watching it. So you're just like, oh, it's a bit of a downer. Bit of a downer. And but in terms of filmmaking, it's just beautiful. All three fit and work together. It's unfortunate it doesn't make a ton of money for him,
Why
but
didn't
I'm
it make
glad
a ton
all
of money?
three
I thought
got.
they all made a ton of money.
Well, I don't know if it's a ton of money, but it's enough for them to actually keep filming them. But
So there's another one?
I think it. What's that?
So is there another one coming?
No, they did three, and that's it. Matt Reeves has moved on to Batman.
Okay.
So unless they turn it over to some other hack director, like somebody who did like The Last Stand or something, I think we're done.
Wow. That was so subtle. And by the way, original.
So
Never
any
made that
comments
joke
on the
before.
Planet of the Apes series?
Yeah. I took a pass on the whole series after I saw the first one in theaters, and that Caesar thing creeped me out. So, um,
All right, what do you got for me?
my next one. See, I don't know if this counts, and this is probably going to be my final one, um, because I don't know. Maybe things are sort of in flux at the moment. But if you just take what we have so far of the DCEU, I think that there's a pretty good trilogy to be made from Man of Steel to BVS to Justice League. I'll just call that the modern superhero. I'm sorry, the modern Superman trilogy. Now that leaves out a couple of films, Wonder Woman specifically, which actually uh, in timeline takes place, decades or several decades ahead of.
You're just gonna try to force this in there, huh? You're gonna try to force in a trilogy so there you can sit there and kiss Henry Cavill's ass on this, huh? I mean, honestly, you're
Well,
really forcing this in here. They're actually what isn't Henry Cavill working out now for a Man of Steel too?
well, he's working out now. I've waited since
No, so
2011
wait,
for a Man of
when they
Steel
do the
2.
Man of Steel 2, then that's gonna throw your whole trilogy thing into a miss here. Justice League, really?
I'm sorry, but it's a Superman movie. It's the best Superman movie of all three of them, if you ask me. Um, but
Superman's dead for half the movie.
yeah, but when he comes back with a vengeance, motherfucker. Okay.
Okay.
My
All right.
point is, if you take out Wonder Woman and obviously Suicide Squad, which is tangentially connected to the rest of the story anyhow, then you're left with a thorough examination of the character of Superman going from Man of Steel into BDS and on to his redemption arc, if you will, in Justice League. And they fucking nailed it. for me, as far as like the character going from how we're introduced to him and how he ends up fighting Batman, and then they end up repairing that relationship. I love it. I love it in a big way, and I'm making a trilogy out of it, and there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Okay, I looked at the definition of trilogy. Is it a group of three related novels, plays, films, or operas? Very loosely, I guess your
It could be
argument of
canon.
that being a trilogy can fit. I think it's ridiculous, but
That's fine.
you know.
So yeah. If you ask me, then also, again, I've espoused this several times before. The three films that make up the trilogy of those movies, BVS, Man of Steel, Justice League, is my favorite modern superhero story, bar none. That includes every single Marvel movie. It includes every single X-Men movie. For me, I want more of this fucking DCEU, and I want it bad. I'm not likely to get it in the levels that Marvel's gotten to, but if you ask me, that's my choice. DC
Okay.
greater than Arrow, Marvel.
Okay. I don't have any comment on that besides the fact is I don't think that really fits my my definition of trilogy, but in the broad sense.
Are we gonna do news today? Because we're getting close to the 2 hour
No,
mark.
don't finish your shit and then not let me finish mine. Are you
I'm sorry.
serious?
I actually thought that you were done. Sorry. I
You
wasn't.
think you always want to end on your nonsense. I don't like to end on your nonsense,
That's
Bill.
fine.
Okay.
How about we end on your nonsense instead?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not finished yet. I haven't wrapped up the subject.
All right.
You don't direct me, I direct you.
Oh, I beg to
The
differ, but
last
okay.
one, which I think might be the top one for me, is The Godfather. So,
Okay.
what more can I say? 1, 2, and 3.
Isn't
One,
3 generally considered to be like very subpar to the second and first one in general?
absolutely,
But it
absolutely.
doesn't.
But
But you feel
but I
differently.
enjoy 3.
Okay. I'm glad
I
to hear it.
enjoy 3. I enjoy 3 and the characters, and I understand why people would say that it's subpar, and I get it. But just the way it's filmed and the concept and all the subterfuge and mafioso things that they're doing and the character growing and reaching a different level, I I I I, I can get into all 3 of the movies. So
So why is
I,
it, in your opinion, is 3 considered to be so sub to the other two trilogies
um.
or to the other
In
two
in
movies?
terms of the way it's filmed, it doesn't match up with the other 2, okay? It has some other characters in there that seem to be not. I'm thinking of what's his name? Is it Andy Garcia?
Yeah.
I think he's in it. I think
Yeah.
his character, I think they're cousins, and he's trying to pick up on, Corleone's daughter, whatever else, a little bit of incest going on there. I think it's just the story is not as tight as the first 2. I think generally, I think that's one of the huge issues.
Did I tell you that I've
But
never
I
seen these movies?
what's that?
Did I have we ever discussed the fact that I've never seen any of them?
No.
Yeah, I've never seen any of them. We
Well,
own them because my husband loves them, but we've never actually sat down to watch them.
yeah, I mean, I think it's probably too late for you at this stage where you're just too like,
No tights,
locked
no
into your
flights.
world. You're too locked in your world, but I think at some point in time, I'm not sure you would actually enjoy the movies. Like it might be too boring for you.
I
Um,
mean, listen, I can enjoy something that doesn't actually have a cape on it, or
Listen, I'm not being insulting. I'm not trying
no,
to be
I know.
insulting.
I'm just
I'm just
saying,
saying I just don't think this is maybe in your wheelhouse
by
right
my
now.
own admission, these are not movies that are in my wheelhouse, but I'm willing to give it a try, basically because my husband seems to have such a deep appreciation for them. Now, it's not deep enough that he's cracked the plastic seal on the Blu-ray that I bought him 3 Christmases ago, mind you, but apparently, it's something that he definitely holds in high esteem. So
Yeah, it's really just good filmmaking. You have very good actors. You have a very good plot and writing. It's just one of those things, as usual. Like we say, things come together. Like we both agree with Lord of the Rings.
right.
You just have like a perfect storm of all these things happening all at once. And I think that's why you have The Godfather being one of those, everybody puts it up on a high level. And I think there's a reason why. It's just certain things come together. And you're just like, whatever it is, lightning hitting the tree, squirrel finding a nut, blind squirrel finding a nut. I don't know, but it just all works. It just all works. Perfect
So
actor, perfect director, perfect writing. It just works. And
how how long is the first movie?
how long is the first Godfather?
Yeah, isn't it like 4 hours long? Like the extended version or the director's cut or whatever you call it.
2 hours and 58 minutes.
Okay. Is that the
Godfather
standard cut?
2. Godfather 2 is 3 hours and 22 minutes.
Okay. And three?
2 hours and 50 minutes.
Okay. So they're like Lord of the Rings length.
Yeah, and the thing about it is the length of the movies. It's so for me. It's so engaging that the length never comes into play.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit in two at times, but even then, it just becomes like you're just so locked and loaded in it. Um, the first one though is the best one. First one is
Okay.
the best one,
I
in my
don't I
opinion.
don't know that, I hope at some point I will see the movie and decide, if it's everything that it's cracked up to be as far as the
Well, if
script.
you ever decide to watch it and you want to watch it, I'll watch it with you. If I come down and you want to get Chris and we can all watch it, I'm up
Okay.
for that.
All right. You'll fall asleep in 10 minutes, so um,
Anyway, all right.
okay.
So you want to hit some news?
Yeah, we probably should get
So I guess for us, where we intersect in conclusion, we both agree that Lord of the Rings is one of the best
is
trilogies
bees
ever.
knees. Yes.
Um, where else do we
Everything else I
intersect?
think we're pretty much diametrically opposed on.
Okay. Well, if
Um,
we have to sit there and make a PCP vote for best trilogy, then I guess we're both going to have to just put Lord of the Rings there,
yep,
since
that'll
that
work.
seems to be the
And
one
I
we both are.
imagine that we would both agree that Fellowship is probably the best of the original three.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
guess we're on the same page on that one as well. You know what? We also
Well,
forgot
we
for
can agree on
me.
this one thing, but nothing else.
You know what's interesting is I don't think you did you even mention it? You gave the prequels your trilogy vote as well as you gave the new Force Awakens trilogy that it's not fully out yet. You gave that a vote, but did you even give Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi a vote?
Yeah, the original trilogy. That was my top vote
Okay.
of
Well, you
all time.
mentioned it. You didn't really get into a discussion of it.
Well, I kind of feel like it's, discussed to death, to be honest with you. I
Yeah,
mean, everybody knows.
I would put that at that's also on my list too, Bill. So
Yeah.
that would be our top two.
Okay.
Um,
Um,
and all three are good. I even like the Ewok movie. So
but you don't like the porks. Okay. I'm sorry. I
I
have a
like
thing
the
with porks.
porks.
I have a thing with
Really, I
porks.
like the
You-
porks.
Okay. I didn't think that you liked the porks.
What I don't like is I don't like Carrie Fisher flying through space. That's what I
Oh,
don't like,
as
though.
if. One of the greatest moments in modern cinema history, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh my
Princess
God.
Leia has fucking force
Who
powers.
said? Who says that?
I said it, motherfucker. I said it. Okay.
I
Let's
look
get it.
forward to you sending me an article that actually sits there and it says that, like, oh, best scene ever.
Oh, I've
Anyway,
read several. Just because the loudest ones are the ones you hear about, the negative ones doesn't mean there aren't ones out there that aren't negative, that are appreciative. Just because they don't make as much noise as the negative one. Okay. Looks like the DCEU is finally waking up from their, what is it, 7 or 8 month slumber after they went into hiding, after people started throwing rocks at them for Justice League. So they're starting to roll out publicity for this December's Aquaman. This week there was a cover story on Entertainment Weekly featuring the movie, featuring our first look at Nicole Kidman as his mother, featuring our first look at Patrick crap. What is his name from Watchmen? Owlman.
Patrick Wilson.
Yes, Patrick Wilson as Orm, and featuring our first look at Black Manta. Well, not necessarily in costume. The actor in the photo is portrayed like looking at the helmet, which looks pretty comic book. Or if you're like me and don't know shit about the comic books, then Super Friends animated show accurate. Did you see these photos? Did you have any comments about these Aquaman photos?
I did. It's not like there's a million of them in here, Bill, because the magazine is right in front of me.
Okay. There's like 6 pictures in there.
Yeah, well, some of them are like, one by one. That being said, the photos really don't mean shit to me. I need to see the trailer.
Well,
The trailer sets the tone for me in Aquaman. I see the photos. I don't. What am I supposed to say?
Well, you're going to have about a month wait until the trailer, which they're going to debut at Comic-Con, which, to be honest, it seems like Warner Brothers is going to have Comic-Con all to themselves this year, which might be a good thing for them. Disney has already pulled Marvel from the festival, so there's not going to be any Marvel stuff at Comic-Con this year, because I think they're trying to keep all the secrets and information for Captain Marvel and Avengers 4 under wraps.
Yeah, they've made all the money. They can stay away.
Right. Also, I believe HBO is not going to be there this year, which is interesting because you would think that they'd want to be pushing that Watchmen show they keep touting about, but and Game of Thrones final season, you would think they want to push that too, but they're apparently staying away. So that kind of leaves the minor studios. Everybody but Disney is a minor studio anymore, but that kind of leaves a wide berth as far as like tentpole anticipated movies for Warner Brothers to fill in that blank. So I hope we get a lot of information on these 3 movies that are coming up next year. Shazam, like I said, Aquaman's finally got the pictures coming out, and the Wonder Woman photos, which were released this week as well. Did you see those? And of course, its title, which is officially now Wonder Woman 84.
I saw those as well.
Her
costume is brighter.
Yes, it looks wonderful. They've basically confirmed somehow Steve Trevor has made it out of the 1918 plane accident and has been transported to at least 1984. I don't know how that's going to work. I know how it worked in the TV show when they moved the show from the 40s to the 70s. They basically had him. It was his son or his grandson, played by the same actor that played the original Steve. I don't think, though, from everything I've been reading, that this is going to be that situation. I think they're actually going to have the original Steve Trevor somehow transported to the 80s, and somehow he, I guess, survived that plane crash. How do you feel about that? Do you have any feelings about that? Or
I don't have any feelings about it, Bill. I don't really care what they do about the costume, about Steve Trevor or Aquaman. I need them to knock my socks off with whatever they do. That's what I need from them. And looking at photos for Aquaman and or for Steve Trevor do not necessarily get me excited for the upcoming movie.
Well,
I honestly need them to sell me on the action and the plot and everything else.
I was very one of the elements of Wonder Woman. Not all of it worked for me, but one of them that did work for me a lot was the chemistry between Chris Pine and Gal Gadot. And so while I understood the character being killed off, I did lament the fact that we weren't going to get to see them be more involved in future stories. They've apparently just somehow corrected that so that we are going to see them be more involved in the future, which I do like.
We've got a big hit on our fan. We need to make sure that Chris Pine finds a way back in this movie.
However they do it, whatever excuse they use, I'm good with it as long as I get what I want. So that does have me excited about the possibilities. The whole idea of placing it in the 80s is also intriguing. I kind of wonder if they're going to go with some kind of maybe nuclear element then. Is Wonder Woman going to have to prevent like a nuclear war, or is she going to have some kind of thing to do with like some kind of armistice between us and Russia or whatever. I don't know. I think it's full of possibilities, and I do think that my anticipation level has gone up a lot since they released those photos. So, um, do we want to talk about Chris Hardwick?
What's going on with Chris Hardwick? Is he in the news?
Really, that's funny. So he's
I,
like the go-to guy at San Diego Comic-Con,
I
and
mean,
he
there's a couple of things
basically
here. I mean, there's a couple of things here. I mean, in terms of talking about it, we can say what's factually true is that yeah, I rather discuss what's factually true as opposed to I really
okay.
don't know what's going on in his personal life. Like that's a he said,
The
she said thing.
factual
If you
truth
can
is
ask
he
me.
won't be hosting any San Diego Comic-Con panels in the future, and his
Okay.
show, The Talking Dead, is factually defunct. So,
Now you sent me a
um,
text message about whether or not I was happy about that, and he's also lost his Nerdist show, didn't he? He's no longer on that.
I imagine that he is the new persona non grata for the moment. Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah,
the new
he's no.
John Lasseter slash Kevin Spacey slash whoever. Who in the hell has the nerve to call this house?
Now you know I wasn't a fan of the Talking Dead show at
Right, which is
all.
why I actually thought you would be happy that it was canceled from another
Yeah, but I
platform.
guess in terms of a sense, I was serious when I texted you that I don't like. I don't think it's cool that people have to lose their job, especially over something like that. But in terms of the show itself, like I'm not a fan of it. But if somebody else would like to watch the show, I guess like you say to me all the time, I don't know. I have to shit on their joy.
Listen, I don't
Uh,
know whether the man did the things that he's being accused of or not, but he's being accused of them by his wife or a former girlfriend, someone that was pretty close to him. The issue I have with all of this, again, and I'm not going to get into a whole Me Too times up thing, but if you were somehow mistreated by somebody, I don't know that the place in which you want to seek restitution for them is in a major magazine. I would think that maybe you would seek therapy and maybe seek some kind of resolution with the person, either with the law or some kind of civil, uh, arbitration. I just don't know if putting your story in fucking People magazine makes me give you more kind of feelings of I believe your story. I kind of makes me feel like you're after something and it doesn't have anything to do with justice.
well, in all honesty, I mean, she's claiming some sort of abuse, whatever.
Sure.
But she also says that as a result of their breaking up, she believes she got blacklisted.
Now,
I
I
don't know.
don't know about you,
No, wait,
but
wait a second. I
I
don't
know.
know what.
Okay,
Listen, I don't know what type of pull Hardwick has,
does
but
he
if she's
seem like a John Lasseter type to you?
well, listen, Bill, I don't know, but if that's the way the woman felt, if that's the way she felt, then maybe somebody told her, who knows? But a woman scorned. Okay, so if you're going to get me blacklisted, and if that's how she feels about it, then she's going to make sure she gets her piece of flesh. There you go.
Okay.
I mean, what is she supposed to just sit there and be like, just crawl away and be like, I guess it doesn't work out for me? He's like, yeah, whatever. You'll never work in this town again. And she goes, okay, I'll just crawl away in my rock. Well, maybe not.
Again, if you were somehow trounced upon and unlawfully treated the way by the somebody that you cared about, I think there's restitution in this country for people who have things like that. And it seems to be more in the courtroom and lawyering up side of things versus publicly humiliating somebody based on allegations that they don't have a chance to defend themselves against in a form like that.
Chris Hardwick's response, short and sweet here. I won't read all of it. Our 3-year relationship was not perfect. We were ultimately not a good match and argued, even shouted at each other. But I loved her and did my best to uplift and support her as a partner and companion in a way, and at no time did I sexually assault her. He's saying that from the unemployment line. Anyway, I didn't care for his Talking Dead show. I didn't really care for him being on the panels. I did not consider him to be a good host. I did not enjoy his shtick whatsoever.
Well,
But
now you can enjoy the back of his head as they slam the door behind it. So that's about all
you
you're
know,
gonna have to worry about from him from now on.
I find that these shows that talk about the shows are the worst things for the shows for me because I feel like they create an undue influence
On
of
who?
people. What?
Undue influence on who?
On the creators, because you have like these shows and the people calling in giving their 2 cents of what they want, and you're like, we really love this character, we don't want anything to happen, and then I don't. I prefer the creators to be left alone in a bubble and not have to be influenced by all the people and what they think and their opinions. Like, I rather the story dictates itself, not the people.
Well,
It's sort of like what we talk about all the time, like in terms of like, we don't like what's going on with this show, and then the people are like, we took a poll and our fans don't like it, so we're going to change it around and we're going to get Superman in shorts because nobody likes him in long pants and things of that nature. I am not so much a fan because I think the Talking Dead gives them more of a forum for this. And what I'm a fan is like what Game of Thrones does at the end of the show. They're like, say, after the Game of Thrones, or what Westworld does on HBO. They'll have the writers or the directors come on, and then they'll talk about some of the scenes in the show and the direction they were going and what their idea was. I like that. But I don't like this whole like, oh my God, what's going on with Finn? Do you think Finn is going to be like, is he going to be like the Jedi thing? We're going to have fans coming in and we're going to have Finn on the show and he's going to talk about it and we're going to sit there and be like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And this, it's too much. It's too much for me.
um, the thing about it is, it's like fan talk TV. It's like a live action filmed version of a Reddit thread. Is basically what Talking Dead is. And I think
I
there's an
rather read
audience,
it than actually watch it on the show.
right, and that's fine. But I think there's an audience of people who either like to do both or would prefer one or the
And part of it is most of the time those shows when they have, well, not that there's a ton out there, it's usually
other. I
just
think there's one
they.
for Stranger Things too. It's called like After Stranger Things or something.
What's that?
I think there's one for Stranger Things also.
Yeah, I think most of those shows are just all like a kiss ass positive fest, and
What if they had like if they had? I mean,
but
it would never work
to
as a
me,
show.
if you're going to have these shows, you should have real talk. Now, I would watch a show where they could sit there and like have people sit there and come in and go like, "Down, that's my favorite character," and I hope nothing happens to him, and then have somebody else call in and be like, "I can't stand this character, and I don't know why they're doing this." But it's not designed for that. It's really just designed to sit there and just create some sort of propaganda for the show that it's all
It's
good,
supposed
everybody loves it.
it's a fan festival show. It's supposed to be like an hour of gushing over how cool you think the show is.
Yeah,
It would be like
I don't
going to
need that,
a
Bill.
party.
The reason why I watch
Right.
the show is because it's a good show. I don't know if I need 500 people in line sitting there going gushing over the show. That's why
Right.
we're all in line. I don't
But
want to hear your slobber fest.
it would be like if you invited some people to your house for a housewarming party or something, right? And everyone's standing around going, "Oh, those window treatments are just amazing." And here I come after a few cocktails, and I'm like, "Did you see that right there? That bar that's holding up those drapes, that's crooked. I mean, does no one see this? It's all like wonky up there. It's just who wants that guy at the party?
That's what you do at my
Get
house
out!"
already. That's what you do all the time at my house. What are you
Oh,
talking
boy.
about?
No,
So are these dust balls in the corner here on purpose? Or are
are,
these dust balls you're waiting to pick those up? Are those dead flies for the spiders? Are you going
are
to
these
clean those flies
yeah,
up?
are these dead flies having a funeral for the one in the middle? What's happening? No, first of all, this was never at a party. It was at your home, a private thing where it was just you and me at the house. Because believe you me, what I wouldn't do is if have people come over to your house for like a Chipotle party and be like, you know, do you see that
Li-
step right over there? That seems a little crooked.
Listen, Bill, I've been to a lot of your house and family functions, and every time I'm there, I say something positive and I also keep it real. Okay? I don't sugarcoat my comments. And as I start to say something, you look at me and go, "This is not the time or the place for that comment." I'd be like, "Okay." I'll save it for later. But
Uh-huh.
at no point am I sitting there going like, Bill, this, oh my God, everything is so great here. Oh, thank you for you and your husband for fixing these ribs and this or that. What do I sit there and be like, so we don't really cook the chicken all the way through? Interesting. Interesting. Half cooked chicken. All right.
Listen, I
No.
can't be responsible for what he does. Um,
I think what makes it even better about the show is you understand that the show is not perfect because it creates this false sense that they're doing everything right and there's always room for improvement or maybe thinking about some things in a different way. Gushing over the same thing doesn't cause these people to do anything or push the envelope any further. It just causes them to sit on their laurels because they're just like, well, if they're just gushing over this bullshit we're giving them, then let's just keep giving them bullshit. I got 8 Transformer movies because nobody's trying to have them push to make this even better or do difference. If anything, I now got a Bumblebee movie pushing the same shit that the Transformer movies have done.
I saw the
Why
trailer
is
for that yesterday when I went to see The Incredibles for the first time. I haven't seen that trailer yet.
uh-huh.
I mean, I'm
You
not going
talk
to go
about
see it.
mediocre. You talk
Doesn't
about
look.
mediocre and not taking any risk.
It looks well. It looks better than the Transformers movies in which it's spun off from.
It,
To be honest with you.
what? A girl finds a robot,
Oh, I thought it was
takes
kind
it
of.
home. He's
And
scared, and she's
Bumblebee's
like,
kind of like
"I'm
cute.
here for you, B." And then B becomes friends with the humans and the child and tries to fight for them.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Okay.
short circuit. I mean, it's like a modern day short circuit. I love that movie.
Yeah, so we're going to redo it 5 times. How about a robot that comes in there that's cocksure and is be like this? Listen, okay, this is how we're going to run this show now that I'm here. You have no parental supervision. I'm going to sit there and tell you how to lead. Okay,
Really.
how about that?
So Bumblebee, first of all, is like an innocent type of character, if I'm not mistaken.
And
He's
that
not
was the
like.
biggest mistake. Anything? How come we didn't get Starscream? How come we didn't get some sort of like other character in there? Something with somebody with more personality. Why are you always picking the characters that are always just like, I'm just shy, I have no confidence, and I look like a little car? How about we get the fucking semi truck or the F-10 fighter plane or something?
Okay. All right.
It's just
Well,
boring.
maybe they're trying to appeal to another section of the audience than the ones that are going to the main movies by giving it a little bit of a softer edge. I don't know.
These shows for you that don't want any type of different opinion, they're perfect for you.
Okay, here we
Like,
go with the insults. And we're back. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up because it's 4:06 and I have a date tonight. So what we're going to do is finish this last news item and then go through our um, movie box office. Is that cool?
okay, what's the last news item? We didn't talk
Um,
about Star Wars.
about what?
We didn't talk about George Lucas' comments for the treatment for 7 through 9.
Yeah, I know. We're just going to have to save that because you are long fucking winded. Um,
Let me ask you this because we haven't discussed it, and I feel like you're avoiding that subject with me.
oh, I'm not. I'm actually not avoiding it at all. I actually have prepared thoughts.
I figured you would. I've given you enough time to read enough material here for you to come back on this whole treatment of his.
Okay.
Are you on board with his treatment?
I would have liked to have seen that explored. I would not have had a problem with it. Yes.
And is that because you're just relying on the fact that you liked his first 2 movies and that somehow you're committed with him and you're going to go down in flames if this is where he wants to go with it?
No, it's because I respect his creation. I enjoy that.
Do you understand that people, just even based on hearing his treatment for 7 through 9, that their hesitation of support for that?
Yeah, nobody liked the midichlorians, so who's going to want to see a trilogy of movies involving the midichlorians? Got it.
Okay, all right.
Short-sighted people I can't be responsible for. I mean, I just can't. I mean, he's going to give you something totally different than what you've already seen and explore. How is that any different than, let's say, Marvel exploring the quantum realm with Doctor Strange and Ant-Man? Anyway, that's my thoughts. Okay, so
What's your last news item?
The Incredibles made $180 million.
We're going to do box office receipts. I don't know
Right.
why we're talking about that now.
Well, let's just then do box office receipts because I am shocked.
You're so ridiculous. I mean, should I give you the producer notes? This is why you don't have the producer chair, Bill. This is why you don't have the producer chair.
Okay. I sorry.
For the weekend ending June 15th through the 17th of 2018, finishing. I can't believe it's already end of June. Ugh,
I know. Middle of June. Thank you. Please don't
where did
rush
it
me.
all go? Well, the number one movie, which you saw this weekend, Incredibles 2.
Yes.
It brought in 180 million fucking dollars. Booyah! Everybody loves The Incredibles.
Listen, this is what happens when people say things like people are burned out on superheroes. This is not clearly not true. Um,
That's okay. I'll let you finish your comment.
um, Now, I like The Incredibles 2. I think it was a very good, worthy sequel to the original movie. Do I think it's the best movie I've seen all summer? No. Do I think it could have been more? Yes. There were elements of it that I thought were pedestrian, but there were other elements of it that I thought were refreshing and new. I just don't think enough of it felt fresh for me to give it like an A plus or even an A. Um, I'm gonna probably end up putting it in the B plus slash B category. Um, it was delightful. Was it box office breaking delightful? Not for me, and that's where my division comes in. I don't think it deserved all this money.
Okay. My response, in my opinion, is that I don't necessarily look at Incredibles as some sort of thing about some statement for superhero films because Incredibles 2 is animation one,
Tell
and it's
that to the
also
good dinosaur.
can I finish my comment? I let you
Sure.
speak uninterrupted. It's animation. It's also family friendly. The Incredibles has a huge fan base of people who enjoyed the movie, just like Finding Nemo. Okay, it has nothing to do with like Pixar and animation. It has everything from Finding Nemo to Toy Story to something else. It's not some sort of like, hey, people are still into toys because they wouldn't saw Toy Story. It is something that is a movie that's enjoyable for all people, which is what Pixar is known for doing. And Incredibles was one of the few movies that had a huge, like, by the way, this is such a good movie and we all enjoyed it. And we haven't even had a second one. You've actually had a Finding Dory movie before the Incredibles movie, and then several Toy Story movies before they finally decided that Brad Bird would get off his ass and they would greenlight doing the Incredibles 2. So it's a long time coming and a lot of people took their kids out to see it. And I'm sure not everybody's sitting on their couch going, "Thank God for this superhero movie. They got it right." Nobody's writing an article going, "I wish DC would do something like this." It's two different elements here, Bill. But the reason why it's made 180 million, I can't argue with you that I didn't see the movie, but I'm just saying it's pent up energy. It's pent up energy from the first movie.
Agreed. It's 14 years since the last movie. That's a long time.
I mean, people would sit there and hate Phantom Menace, but we all turned out to see it. I mean, you don't know till you go see it. But I don't. I can see how it made 180 million dollars.
That's fine. I can see how
Maybe
it
they
made
should have
180
Brad Bird
million
directing the solo movie. Maybe that would have helped it out. What do you think?
I can see why. Tell that to Tomorrowland. I can see why it made a lot of money. I just don't feel like it was earned, and that is what bugs me. But I mean, I'm asking for sense to be made out of an industry that doesn't
What are
make
you
it.
supposed to do though? If everybody's supposed to go out and see the movie because they're like it's The Incredibles and we all love the first one, what do you want? What do you want them to do? Not go see it? I mean,
No, I
or
want
do you
them to
want
go
them to
see it.
listen to Rotten Tomatoes and wait till you see it this weekend, say that the movie is not as great as the first one, and then for you to affect box office later on? What I mean,
No,
what do you want?
I just I guess I wish sometimes that quality, in my opinion, would reflect in the box office, and that's a lot oftentimes not how it happens. So
I wish actually I wish the same there too.
me
I
too.
wish Solo would have made 10 cents, so I would not get any more of that shit.
Well, you're
They
not
would
getting
stop.
any more of it. So I mean, I guess you got your
Oh,
wish one way or the
they'll,
other,
they'll
right?
find a way to salvage that. Somebody will sell something. Ryan Johnson will come back and like, I have a new version. What to do with Solo 2, and then we'll be back to this again. Anyway, the number two movie, Ocean's 8, pulled in another $20 million. There was some money left over, I guess, after The Incredibles. It's made about $80 million total in America, less overseas. and it's 2 weeks. Any interest in Ocean's 8?
No, I really don't think so. I saw the trailer; it didn't do anything for me.
Fair enough. The number 3 movie opening also this weekend, Tag.
Is that a comedy?
Yes, starring Jeremy Renner and Ed Helms.
Is it actually about the game tag?
I don't know, Bill, because I saw part of the trailer and I just turned it off because it hurt my brain.
Okay.
$14 million.
Apparently, I heard of
But hey,
it too.
if you're on a date and you don't want to go see Incredibles 2, or you don't want to go see some sort of like female heisters in Ocean's 8, I guess you can go and saw Tag for a little fun, middle of the road
It's more
movie.
like The Incredibles 2 is sold out. What are we gonna do now? Oh, that's more like what happened.
That's so harsh. That's so damn harsh.
It's probably true.
The number 4 movie is Solo in its fourth week of release, pulling in another $9 million, bringing its grand total to 339 million worldwide. Seems like a ton of money.
Yeah, not really. Um, Maybe the only lining I can see it coming out of this for myself is that maybe the Blu-ray will come out faster.
Oh,
It's dying on the vine at the box office, so
yeah, that sounds like a positive. It beat out Deadpool 2 in its fifth week of release only by about $200,000. So Deadpool 2 is coming in at $689 million.
I was gonna buy that movie, but shit like this makes me not even want to fucking put my pennies
Why
down on the
not?
floor. Ah, it bugs me.
Why are you hating on the movie, Bill? Because it's found an audience and it's doing well. And you're sitting over there with
Hating
sour
on.
grapes because everybody's kicking Solo to the side like a step-headed child. They're treating him like Ferguson.
Ugh, wow. Um, Sometimes it just doesn't feel just to me. The universe is askew.
The
I'll buy
number
it,
6?
but you know what? Here's if it's as bad as I've heard some people say it was, I'll just take it to half price book. It's fine.
Okay. The number 6 movie, the only reason why I'm mentioning this, and might as well mention the number 7 movie. Number 6 movie is Hereditary. If my woman was into horror movies, I would be there. But I can't wait to watch that movie. That looks
Don't you think she
scary.
would go with you if you said, "Hey, babe, listen, there's this movie I really want to check out," and you don't take her to a lot of movies, so maybe she would just be like, "Well, I'll give him a pass on this one," and
You
or
know
you
what?
don't.
I learned my lesson a long ago, Bill, when I invited her over in the early dating stages. We saw there was a movie called, it was on Netflix. I forget what it was called. It was called, I don't know, The Evening or something else like that. It involved like this couple going over to a dinner party, and at this dinner party, weird things started happening, and essentially it was sort of like a cult meeting.
Mhm.
And I invited her. It's just the premise and the trailer seemed really interesting, and I invited her over on a Sunday night because I'm like all excited. I got my Chipotle. How about you come over and just watch this movie? So it's early on in a relationship, and she's like, "Sure, I'll come over and spend some time with you, and I'll watch this movie that you're talking about."
Mhm.
As you start watching the movie within the first 10 minutes, it's the type of thing where you feel uncomfortable because it's kind of like stupid, and then she's looking at you like this is the dumbest shit already, and then you're just kind of like on edge and uncomfortable of going like you built this whole thing up and it's just falling flat right in front of your face. And Hereditary seems like a great movie, but I don't want to take the risk of trying to oversell it and then have her look at me in the first 5 minutes of like you're an idiot. I
Well,
just don't need
why
it,
don't you
Bill.
just not oversell it then and just be like, "Listen, this is something. Maybe it's not something."
Well, Bill, I
Or
have to oversell it because horror is not something that she does. So if I'm going to take her in there, I got to make sure, like, I'm not spending all my credits on some bullshit.
uh,
I got to be in it to win it.
this is why I keep telling you. You got. Never mind. We'll discuss this off the air. There are ways in which you can convince partners
I know
to
your ways,
maybe.
Bill. By the way, well, we'll talk about it later. The
Okay.
number 7 movie that brought in $6 million is Superfly. Any interest in seeing Superfly, Bill?
No, is it really about Superfly, like the real one?
It does have the word super in there. You might get confused in your old
Wow.
age, and
Wow.
you may go watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a hard pass on it, but thanks.
It's like the modern day Shaft. You don't want to see that and support our
Yeah,
people?
I don't want to see that either. Actually, they made a modern day Shaft. It made $10.
Okay. So tonight I'm gonna go get Chipotle and watch Westworld. That's what's in it for me.
Tonight we are watching. What are we watching? Face Off is back. That's my husband's favorite TV show. And last night we watched an episode of Jessica Jones, which we're on episode 9 now. We're a little bit further than I thought we were, and we're still enjoying it. So it looks like we probably, even though you take a break and you forget, like, oh, well, that show was okay. Then you go back and you're like, oh no, it's pretty good. So then, other than that, tonight next week starts Luke Cage. By the way, don't forget. I'm sure you wouldn't forget, but so tonight it's Face Off, and I think it's going to be Gotham.
Okay, nice.
So, and by the way, while we're on the air, before we part the airwaves, so that I can get this out of the way and you don't get angry with me, because you won't and do this yell at me in front of people thing. We need to get Ant-Man tickets tomorrow. They are on sale tomorrow. So,
Excuse me, what?
Ant-Man tickets go on sale tomorrow. It's your turn. I have the card and information and everything. I just wanted to let you know.
You just send me the amount of money that it cost me. Okay?
All right.
That's all I need to know.
Okay.
And I need you to do it right when you do it, so that I don't have some sort of alert on my phone that somebody's robbed my shit. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And I don't need a lot of sugarcoating. I don't need a lot of explanation. I don't need a lot. I just need to know the amount. That's
Okay.
all I need.
All right. But I just wanted to let you know because you'd be surprised if I didn't, and that would not be good.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a downer for Sunday night.
Really? Really? You still got a month before the damn movie. Actually, 3 weeks before the movie. You've got time to like.
When I see Michael Pena come out with the other two characters of the Russian and the rapper, I'm just gonna look at you and be like, this is what we're passing off as being original and quality and groundbreaking, and this is what's pushing the genre forward. And you're wondering why Hollywood is dying on the vine. It's going to be because of shit like that, Bill. Okay,
Well,
that's like putting Kim Kardashian in the movie opposite Meryl Streep and telling me like, isn't this amazing? Okay.
Ironically, what's not dying on the vine is them doing these movies. Sure, Hollywood's dying on the vine everywhere else, but this company in particular is doing just fine.
That's okay. You keep it your way. Oh, we didn't get to talk about Comcast. Are you one of those people writing in to make sure that Comcast doesn't steal the X-Men and Fantastic Four from you?
No, because it's going to be what it's going to be. And I've also read that they are possibly going to negotiate to separate assets if they end up going with both Comcast. So in other words, they might go with both Comcast and Disney as purchasing Fox. So as long as the right people get the right shit, I really don't care how they split it up.
Okay, fair enough. Enough of your nonsense. I'm Payne.
I'm Bill.
And thank you for listening to the Popular Cinema Popular Sidecast.
What the fuck? The fuck was that? Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
Bye.